Yeah, like, niggas be acting like a little G.
Alrighty, welcome into the 2022 edition. This is the second ever March Madness podcast between myself, Jack Dean, and my college roommate, Chase Michaelson, that you have known from last year's podcast. And we have another Selection Sunday in the books, another bracket out and ready to be analyzed by us, who are clearly very credible and I'd say college basketball geniuses, but I'm not sure if the John Rothsteins of the world would agree. But yeah, welcome in.
Thanks for having me. This is March, so it's always good.
Right, as Rothstein would say.
It's a great time of year. It really is fun. Like, just everything about it, right? Like, Selection Sunday is always exciting, and then like the next few days are going to be cool because we're going to be analyzing this and overthinking it, and then it's all going to happen. Like those first 96 hours with 48 games. I mean, you just really can't beat that.
And from last year, if you know me, I like to pretend like I can have a great bracket. I like to go into this thinking
a perfect bracket.
This is going to be, well, no, as I've told you off podcast, this year is the first year I've accepted it will not be perfect.
That's good.
I'm going in with lower expectations, but this time I am confident it will be a great bracket.
67 out of 68.
Right. That's what we're shooting for.
Yeah.
So just want to start out before we get into things, talking about what we're doing since we last did this podcast. Myself, I have moved to Los Angeles, California. You have moved to Las Vegas, Nevada.
This is true.
We are both working in sports. If you are listening to this and you are one of our good buddies from Michigan State, you know that we are both sports journalism people, both have degrees in journalism, and it's honestly is a blessing, I feel like, to work in sports, and both of us do something that we genuinely are passionate about that relates to what this podcast is going to be about as well.
Yeah, no doubt. Would you say you feel like you use your degree?
Oh my God. Well, I mean, like, I write for Fox now. Like, I am doing some editorial type of things. So, I know when to use there, and there.
Okay.
So that's big for the journalism,
Right.
I mean, you don't do anything.
No, nothing with my degree. Definitely not. No. I'm an administrator at the Westgate Superbook, which is the largest sports book in the world.
So give us like a one sentence what you do.
We're the boys in the desert. It's not necessarily me, but my bosses are making the lines, looking at all the teams in basically every sport, creating lines, moving them, and generally running the sports gambling world. The Westgate was pretty innovative and developing a lot of things. Super Bowl props every year, 50-page packet, things like that. The props for the tournament this week will be extensive. So it's an exciting place. If you're ever in Las Vegas, there's not a better place to watch a game. 7 giant, and I do mean giant screens, 10 times the size of your TV at home. Good drinks, and a great atmosphere. So it's a cool place to work for sure.
That is dope. And I know that, I'm going to promote the shit out of this episode, and I'm hoping that, we have a good number of listeners that, we know tons of people that love betting on sports, love that aspect of it. We have some friends from Michigan State that, I feel like really got me. I mean, in high school for me, I wasn't really paying attention to lines or anything like that. And
right.
College came, and it's just everything now. And then now I am not legally allowed to bet on sports, so that's quite unfortunate. But
that is unfortunate.
I pay attention to lines and stuff like that.
It's just so much more widespread now than it ever was before. It's legal in a lot of places that it wasn't before. You don't have to go to the shady mob connected guy anymore.
Right. You don't have a bookie anymore, really.
Right.
I mean, people obviously do, but I'm saying
right.
It's not a necessity.
Right. Exactly.
But yeah, since last year's podcast, I recently got a job and started with Fox Sports. So I'm doing both my NFL gig and working for Fox Sports, and Fox obviously with the rights to a lot of conference games in college basketball, and just hosted, the Big East Championship last night. So it's really cool to have a job that I can say that I get to work and watch my favorite sport of all time, which has always been college basketball. And now here we are in March. This is March. So
This is March.
Now that we're there, I mean, take it as you will with the credibility aspect of it. We're just out here having fun, trying to give you guys the stats and the insight that not a lot of people watch college basketball like we do and in the volume that we do. So
Right.
that, I guess, could be the goal of this episode as well. But as I mentioned before, a lot of championship games in conference happened this past weekend in their respective tournaments. Today was the SEC championship and the Big Ten championship. So both of those games just wrapped up before Selection Sunday kicked off. What are your initial reactions to these conference tournaments?
That Texas A&M should have won today, and they would have made the tournament. So all the people complaining about Texas A&M not making the tournament, they had their opportunity. They didn't take advantage of it. And when you go 9-9 in conference and have no notable non-conference wins, and then you get hot for a week in March and you get upset because you're not in the tournament, I don't really have a lot of sympathy for you.
I love the people that are like genuinely upset that A&M didn't make it. They're just like, they're the hottest team in college basketball. It's
It
kind of
doesn't
like,
matter.
okay, so you clearly just don't understand how this works.
Well, it's like, okay, if you discount November, December, January, and February, then yeah, they should definitely be in. They should be like
Right.
a 3 seed.
Right. Oh, they should be on the one line.
Right, but like that's not how it works. Like,
They win today. I mean, they're the number one overall seed. So,
yeah, it's them in Gonzaga.
But other than A&M, which obviously was the fourth team in the first four out, heartbreak for Oklahoma, SMU, Dayton especially. I really thought Dayton was getting in until they lost that conference game that they really shouldn't have lost. They were up by like 5 with like 4 minutes left.
Yeah, Richmond is quite lucky to be in. Dayton lost Malachi Smith in that game, and everything. They just sort of fell apart after that. I mean, they obviously are a team that has the remnants of a really good team from a couple years ago, but no more Obi Toppin, no more Jalen Crutcher. And when Malachi Smith got hurt, it felt like the team just didn't have a leader, and they kind of fell apart in that game.
It's such a shame, too, because this is the same team that beat Kansas early in the year, and you were like, wow. They almost had like a Texas is back moment. You're like, holy shit, Dayton is good. Like, again,
Yeah, but they
they're
did
gonna have
lose to
one of those,
Austin
like,
P and Lipscomb.
Right.
So that's tough.
That's
But yes.
tough for them.
But yes, no, for sure. When they beat Kansas, that was very exciting.
Just wrapping up bubble teams here for a second. Shout out to Richmond, like you mentioned, bid stealer
Yes.
1.0. Just absolute textbook definition of a bid
Yes.
stealer. It's so
Yes.
good to have that. I feel like there is one like every year.
Well, I mean, last year Oregon State made the Elite Eight.
Right, which is,
And then they won 4 games.
yeah. Didn't they win 0 conference games this year?
No,
Pretty
you're
sure
thinking
so.
of Georgetown.
Oh, right.
Oregon State won 1 conference game. So
Nice.
they were firing on all cylinders.
All right, Beavs. And they still had like a couple guys from that Elite Eight team this year.
Yeah.
And I like watched an Oregon State game one time for work, and I was just like, wait, I know those guys.
Yeah, Ethan
Why are
Thompson.
you a
Yeah.
1-win Oregon State Beaver team? Like, at least be 9-9. But anyways.
Well, because they weren't a tournament team last year until they won the Pac-12 tournament. I mean, that's the answer.
Right. So let's transition there to get into bubble teams. Let's start talking about the first 4 games that are coming up on Tuesday and Wednesday. I'm not sure when this episode will get out. I'm hoping to get it out before the first 4 begins. But regardless, let's talk about the games. Starting off on Tuesday, we get to see the orange-hot Indiana Hoosiers. They're kind of hot, but they also just like don't look that good every game regardless, but then they find a way to pull it out. They're like the Walmart Villanova these past few weeks. Like Villanova wins every game by 3, and you're just like, wow, they're like barely escaping, but they look good doing it. Indiana looks terrible doing it, but they're just escaping and they're just finding a way, and I love it, honestly.
Well, except for when Jordan Bohannon banked in a 3 from the parking lot, cementing my hatred of the Iowa basketball program.
Well, I mean, what are you going to do when a guy's 35 years old out there balling
it's not
against
fair.
college kids? So.
Yeah, it's not fair. That's not fair.
But Indiana, Wyoming, any just like real quick like predictions for that game?
Well, one thing, Wyoming doesn't. They have a really short rotation. Like, they don't use their bench. They basically play 6 guys. So Indiana if Indiana could speed them up and play a fast tempo, I think that's advantage Indiana. Indiana's favored by 3.5 points in this game at Westgate, which is the lines I will be using for all the lines I'm referring to.
Yeah.
The one I guess advantage for Wyoming is Hunter Maldonado, the point guard's a big dude. He's 6'7", and the Indiana guards are not big. Xavier Johnson, Rob Finney, these are short guys, 6'1", 6'2". So it would be interesting to see if he could use that size advantage. But overall, I think Indiana's a much more talented team. But I think their best shot is Maldonado kind of working sort of an inside-out game and using his size to his advantage, because other than that, it's a lot of times where you have the small conference teams playing bigger conference teams. The difference in talent is pretty apparent. Obviously, Wyoming doesn't have a guy that can match up with Trace Jackson Davis. That's obvious. So we'll see. I mean, Indiana's more talented, but they also, like you said, they like to choke and lose games in weird ways. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I was going to bring up Trace Jackson Davis. Wyoming, absolutely. I've watched a couple Wyoming games this year because they are Mountain West, and we have those rights for work. So they just don't have a guy that can match up with Trace Jackson Davis, but very few teams do in the entire nation. So I think Indiana does have that slight edge there. They're also just, they're the program. So I know they don't have a whole lot of guys that are the program, but they still are the program, and it's just can't really pick I just can't pick Wyoming against the Indiana Hoosiers this year. Moving on to Wednesday's game it's Rutgers versus Notre Dame. I'm calling this the worst game of the year because
nice.
I don't think either of these teams are actually good at basketball.
That's not nice at all. That's hurtful, I think is the word. I think Rutgers is I think a pretty talented team. They're obviously really up and down. They've beaten some really good teams, obviously, and they've lost to some terrible teams, like New Jersey Institute of Technology or whoever they lost to. But I don't know. I think this is kind of a classic make shots game, right? Notre Dame's gonna shoot a lot of threes. They have guys who can make shots. They have 3 guys who shoot 38% or better. If Notre Dame makes shots, they can and will win because they'll have the opportunities. Rutgers is a team that lets you shoot from 3. They're much more concerned with 2-point defense. So I think if Notre Dame makes the shots, they'll win, and if they don't, they won't. That's my analysis.
Do you think a Bray versus Pike-Eel situation is a big enough advantage for Notre Dame because Notre Dame has been here before and Rutgers literally has not?
Well, Rutgers was in the tournament last year and they choked down the stretch against Houston. They should have won that game. They stopped playing offense with 6 minutes left. That was frustrating. I see what you're saying. Obviously, Mike Bray is, he's kind of like the classic, coach's coach. But I think Michael's a really good coach. Rutgers is the team is so experienced, right? This is the same team that was facing Michigan State when we were in school. It's still Clifford Omarui, it's still Gio Baker, it's still Ron Harver. So I don't know. I think that Rutgers is.
Do you think they're underrated then? Sounds like it. Which is a fine take.
I think that they are equipped, and we'll get into it later, to potentially make a run if they make it through this game. there are several examples of teams that have been in this first four making it pretty far. I mean, we've had a couple reach the Final Four, VCU the first year, and then UCLA last year. Both made it from the first four to the Final Four. I'm not saying that's going to happen with Rutgers. I'm just saying that it's not
They're
unprecedented
equipped to be able to do it.
I mean, they could beat anybody, right? Like, they beat Illinois, they beat Purdue, they beat Michigan State, they beat, Ohio State. Like, they've beaten these teams. So, they've beaten the best that the Big Ten has to offer. So, they've beaten Wisconsin in Wisconsin. So, yeah, they can meet anybody. Will they? I don't know. I mean, they could easily lose to Notre Dame. It's not a very consistent team.
Right. So, with that being said, I mean, all respect to Bryant and Wright State, but not going to get into that. Bryant, though, Peter Kiss, just going to say that.
Yeah, I'm excited for the country to get excited about him for like an hour. And
it's sick. I was telling my dad, like, it's
right.
sick that they give these teams first four opportunities, and it almost makes me wish, like, like a Norfolk State, like, did get that opportunity kind of, like, in a year like this, but, it can't be everyone. But it is cool that, like, a Peter Kiss can make that game exciting and, like, make you need to watch it. And then Brian could come out with their first ever NCAA tournament win. And it's like a cool moment.
I got bad news for you. Wright State's going to win that game.
Wow.
But
there it is.
They're a better team. I mean, like, Bryant has one guy.
Peter Kiss throwing, like, gang signs doesn't, like, intimidate Wright State?
Well, I don't know. And it obviously intimidated the Wagner student section. But I don't know what happened in that game.
So let's start getting into some regions here. We'll start, as we do, top left every year. It's the West region this year. We got Gonzaga. Once again.
Yes.
Almost, I'll give you, like, they're kind of like your home school a little bit, like props. Like, I'll kind of give that to you. Like, I guess you could claim UW, Washington State, whatever you want to do. But, like,
I got some
for the sake of this.
I got some Zags.
Exactly.
I got some Zags in my life.
Right. Exactly.
Shout out to Zags in my life. You know who you are.
We got the 2017 team that, makes a run, great tournament. They're leading in that national championship game until about 5 minutes left, and then Joel Berry says, get off, just get off the court. We're going to take this one. We're going all the way with the revenge for Marcus Page's shot. And they take that one in 2017. So it's heartbreaking 2017 for Gonzaga.
Bryce Johnson.
Right. Kennedy Meeks.
Yeah.
For all my Carolina people out there.
I like it.
There are none of you, but
I like it.
This is for myself. And then obviously 2021 Gonzaga team, 36-0 going in. And they just can't get the job done against the Baylor team that ends up being, one of those sneaky, very good teams of the past decade. Like, probably a top 5 team of the past decade is the 2021 Baylor Bears, in my opinion. Talent top to bottom.
And like, I mean, I thought Gonzaga was going to win that game going in, but I was wrong. I just remember Mark Vidal after the game said, I don't remember exactly what the quote was, but it was like, we just completely kicked their ass for 40 minutes. And he was right. And so, I mean, that's tough for Gonzaga to recover from. But.
It's honestly one of those things, though, where I'm just like, if the UCLA game doesn't end in such dramatic fashion for Gonzaga, like, if they could just win that game by, like, 6, a nice comfortable-ish win, and then move into the championship game, like, do they actually win that championship game? I think, like, very possibly. But it's just like, when you bank a shot, they basically won the national championship when they beat UCLA. And then they're like, oh, shit, another game for everything.
Yeah, well, and Baylor didn't really have to work very hard against Houston in the Final Four. But,
right.
All I'll say is that I think Andrew Nemhart's pretty excited to not see Davion Mitchell ever again.
For sure.
Yeah.
So why do you think this 2022 Gonzaga roster could do it this time compared to those other past teams?
Because Davion Mitchell and Mark Vidal aren't playing for Baylor anymore. I mean, I know that's kind of a lame answer, but, like, I think that, like, you don't have to be better than the 96 Kentucky team or last year's Baylor team or the 05 Carolina. You just have to be better than everybody this year. And so, like, I don't think like, I know it's kind of, like I said, it's a lame answer, but Gonzaga, I don't think they're as good as they were last year, but I still think they could win the title because I don't think you have a dominant team this year the way that it turned out Baylor was. Like, I don't think that there's any team out there that's as good as Baylor and Gonzaga were both last year. Like, I think that those were two of the best teams we've seen in a long time. The differences this year, no Jalen Suggs, but yes, Chet Holmgren. The team's oriented differently, a lot more big-to-big passing with Timmy and Holmgren. Down low, like, it's just a different style, like, than what we've come to expect from Gonzaga. But Mark Few's a really good coach, and he's taken advantage of that. Just having that talent, right? I mean, it's the same thing. They're the best offense in the country again. They're number 7 in adjusted defensive efficiency on KenPom.
They have all the metrics
again. It's the same thing, right? So, like, they're good. They're really good. It's just a matter of whether they can make those plays at the end. Like, I don't think there's anything that could have been done differently last year. Like, they just got bitch slapped. Like, sometimes it happens. Like, I don't even think it's like, I almost feel like that type of game, as a coach, there's almost nothing that you can, like, say afterwards. Just like, you know what, like, today they just came out with their hair on fire and we didn't, and, like, sometimes it happens. And it sucks it happened in the title game, but I think Gonzaga's very equipped to win the title this year. I mean, I don't think that's a hot take at all. Well, who's the guy that his bold prediction was Gonzaga wins the title?
Oh, yeah. Someone on CBS Sports Network said their bold prediction for the tournament is that this is the year Gonzaga does it.
Yeah, their bold prediction was the tournament favorite and number 1 overall seed wins it.
Like,
it's bold.
And he was, like, playing a little mini game, like, versus another guy, and he made, like, another prediction. I think he said, like, Iowa to the Final Four. Very solid bold prediction. Like,
yeah, that's definitely
that's fun. It's cool. Whatever.
It's a
not
5
crazy.
seed. Makes sense. Yeah.
And there was, like, a game show type of thing, and the guy that picked Gonzaga as his bold prediction got the point that round. And I was just like, all right, whatever. So moving down the bracket, we'll wrap up this region and talk about Gonzaga some more. But we're going to talk about every 8-9 game because very obviously they're all good matchups.
Right.
And this first one especially, I think, could very well be the best 8-9 matchup in the entire bracket.
It is
and that
a
is
matchup.
my Boise State Broncos
I love it.
versus Penny Hardaway, and he's so angry, and he's not angry anymore because they're here, and now they're the 9 seed. Memphis Tigers taking on Boise State. So why don't you give us a few notes that you may have had about this game, and then I'm just going to say things that I think.
It's a really fun rebounding matchup. Memphis is number 5 in the country in offensive rebounding, and Boise State is number 5 in the country in defensive rebounding.
Oh, I love that. We actually have another huge rebounding game later on that I have noted here. But that is interesting because I didn't know that. So I love when that happens.
I'm excited. So, I mean, you have Jalen Duran and DeAndre Williams inside for Memphis, and those are obviously, huge athletic dudes. They are missing one of their more athletic dudes, though. I'm not sure where
about
he
his
is.
dad. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
We won't mention his name.
Yeah. But, Boise's bigs are smaller, but they're really solid, and this team just defends really well. Memphis is 2.5-point favorites in this game, but I could see this game going either way. I really like Boise, and I think that they're underrated.
Wow. So obviously Boise, they win the conference tournament in the Mountain West. They come out of that, and they're an 8 seed. And it is interesting because Wyoming, Colorado State, and Boise State and San Diego State all had this weird little back and forth where all of them beat each other once and then lost to each other the other time, and there's just always been this weird dynamic in the Mountain West, and it's cool to see 4 teams get in. Is there only 4?
Yeah, there's 4.
Something?
Yeah, there's 4. Boise State swept San Diego State, I believe.
Right. So, I mean, any of these teams, weird shit has been happening all year with them. It's honestly really cool seeing, this random conference be like very, very good this year.
Oh, the Mountain West is a deep conference. Shout out my Wyoming Cowboys.
It's awesome, honestly. But me personally, I'm looking at, in this matchup, Memphis having like a very well-rounded team, like a lot of guys that are averaging like 9-10 points per game. It doesn't seem like they have like a number one star.
Yeah, that's fair.
But you know who does have a number one star, and that is the Boise State Broncos with Marcus Shaver. I've cut a few highlights for him this year. He's awesome. He's one of those like stereotypical like point guards that will get you a win if you need a win.
For sure.
With that being said, if I have to make a pick for this game, I do have Memphis, just because I watched a couple games recently. I honestly hadn't watched them all year. Watched a couple recent games. It's crazy how when Penny Hardaway made that rant about his team being hurt, dramatized, young, all this stuff, like they like turned it around from like that moment. They
Literally,
like won,
which
like,
one? He had like 3. Like every time they lost early in the year, he would just like be like, "It's somebody else's fault."
Well,
but then
the
it
one-
somehow worked.
The one with the F word in
Yeah,
like
no, I know.
mid-February. But yeah, they beat SMU in a must-win game. And they come in, they get smacked around by Houston. It happens. Houston's a very, very good team.
We'll get to that later.
I don't know. I wish I could ride the Mountain West. I want to ride the Mountain West in this tournament, but as you'll see with my picks later, I just don't feel it yet. I don't.
You wish
feel
you could ride
I've
the
seen
Bronco.
It's honestly that fact that, like, I bet I'm totally wrong, and I kind of hope I am in a way. But it's just like seeing Boise State like beat San Diego State, and then like the next game I also have to watch for work, and like they lose by 15 to Colorado State, and then I watch Colorado State on that next Saturday, and they lose by like 4 to Wyoming, and it's just like
Colorado State lost by $1 billion to UNLV twice, but
oh wow.
yeah, I don't know how that happened, but I guess a bad matchup.
But yeah, if you have to make a pick for the game, what do you got?
I'll go Memphis. -2.5.
All right, we're both going Memphis. Next couple games, let's just talk about anything with upset potential, because these are when we're starting to get into those high seed, low seed situations: 5-12, 4-13, 3-14. So, are there any of these teams, either a New Mexico State, a Vermont, the winner of Rutgers Notre Dame, as we kind of said that you hinted at, could make a run, or like a Montana State? Are you seeing anything specifically of any of those teams?
Yeah, I wrote down UConn, New Mexico State, like UConn just pounds the boards, and New Mexico State just doesn't have the horses inside. I don't think like Sonogo's just a beast for UConn. I don't see that personally. UConn's laying 7 points in that game, and honestly, I already did bet UConn. Like I think that game could, like, has the potential to get out of hand. Arkansas is laying 5 against Vermont. Arkansas is a 4 seed. Vermont's a 13 seed. Like, this is like a game that I feel like you'll see a lot of people on TV pick as an upset, because people know Vermont. Like, Vermont's been in the tournament before. They beat Syracuse all those years ago. It's that classic thing. Like, they have 7 main contributors, and 6 of them are upperclassmen. So like there is like some signs that would like point you in that direction. But Arkansas is so talented. Like, I think J.D. Notae is just like so good, and then they got Chris Likes. Like, Arkansas's players are old. Like, they're good and old. Lots of transfers, obviously. Like, Musselman brings in transfers. So I don't know. I would say I don't think that's an upset. Like, I mean, anything can happen, but I would not pick that. I would say if Rutgers wins, I could see them beating Alabama. I think Alabama would probably be laying like 6.5 points. That's just a guess. But like, I could see them locking Alabama down. Alabama's gonna take so many shots. Like, their tempo is just insane, and if that's going good, like, obviously when it's going well, Alabama beats Gonzaga, and then when it's going bad, they're getting blown out by inferior teams in the SEC and losing to Vanderbilt in the SEC tournament. Like, Alabama's like one of the more hot and cold teams in the entire country. So, and so is Rutgers. So like a high variance game like that, like I could see that being an upset for sure. And like I said, like I do think there is something to that first four thing. Like it's a team that's played, they've been blooded. They're like, let's go. We already have a win in the tournament, you know. So I don't know. I could see that happening. Notre Dame, I don't see it. But if Rutgers does make it through, I could see them beating Alabama.
And then I think it's safe to say Montana State has no chance.
That's correct.
So here's a question I have for you that I honestly don't know the answer to. How many players on Alabama are returning from that 2-seed team last year?
I'm not sure the number, but I know Quinterly's back, and I know Brooks is back.
Is it a lot or is it?
It's a few. Yeah, it's a few.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because when we get to Houston later, I also looked that up. They have 3 returning starters from the Final 14 last year, which, you know, there might be very few things that matter more than that.
Right.
You know, when it comes down to crunch time in these close games, which I'm sure, like you said, a Rutgers or a Notre Dame will give them. But yeah, honestly, my picks for these games, and you can go next. I have UConn, I have Arkansas, I have Alabama, and I have Texas Tech. Chalk.
Okay. Yeah. I pretty much agree with that.
I don't know. I think it's a very weak region in terms of the Cinderella story. And now, the moment that you have all been waiting for. I'm sure
my God.
Over 80% of our listeners have been waiting for us, and we're getting to it kind of early. We're only 30 minutes into the podcast. Michigan State, a 7-seed, facing Foster Lawyers, Davidson Wildcats. Ghost of Steph Curry? I don't know. People are talking. He's actually the number 1 best free throw shooter in Division I at 93%. Foster
He's
Lawyer.
A great free throw shooter for sure.
I'm sure he's 19 for 20 on the year. That's incredible for him. But Michigan State going into this game, it's been a wild ride, and I just don't see a world in which a Foster Lawyer-led team can stop like the worst Michigan State team that I've seen in years.
I don't know if it's a Foster Lawyer-led team. Like I would say it's a Luke Brakovich-led team, but the one thing with Davidson is they shoot a lot of threes. Like they're number 8 in the country in 3-pointers.
Made or attempted?
Percentage.
Okay.
So, like, Michael Jones is a 43% shooter in spot-up situations. Like, you can see a lot of pick and pop with Lawyer and Brakovich. So, if, like, the Marcus Binghams of the world and the Julius Marbles of the world and the Malik Halls of the world, the Joey Hausers of the world, like, need to defend the pick and pop well. And if they don't, there can be problems. Like, Davidson can't win. Like, I don't think all of our listeners necessarily, like, believe that. They saw them lose to Richmond today. This is a team that can get hot and can shoot. And I think that Tyson Walker is really important. If Tyson Walker comes back healthy, I think Michigan State is in a good spot. Experienced guard will be able to defend those pick and pops well. Him and Hogard together, I think, is interesting. But if he's not there, I don't know. I mean, I think Michigan State will win. But, I would say don't be shocked.
Oh, I mean, if you've seen a Michigan State game this year, we could lose by 30, and everyone would be like, yeah.
So I don't know how much this will come into play, and maybe I don't know how much this will come into play in this game because Davidson doesn't force a lot of turnovers. But okay, there are 353 teams in Division I. Michigan State ranks 350th in non-steal turnover percentage, which means the other team essentially...
We're just, like, throwing it away, like, under no pressure at all.
Right. Like, essentially, like, it's literally just, like, miscommunications. So, again, like, Michigan State is essentially the worst team in the country in, like, just throwing it out of bounds.
It's crazy, because when you watch them, like, that's fully what you get. Like, you're like... When's the last time we actually shot the ball? You
Right.
start to wonder that when you watch Michigan State in 2022.
All right, you want to talk about if Michigan State does win this game, though? Because you know it's next.
I do know it's next. Just to wrap up Michigan State Davidson, we are the best team in the Big Ten at defending the 3. that's a very advertised statistic that
True.
you hear in like every game. So
True.
I think we are okay there. But like you said, haven't seen a whole lot of pick and pop in the Big Ten, like at all. Like it's pretty big man dominated, and besides like a Keegan Murray or an E.J. Liddell, who really doesn't run that many pick and pops to begin with.
Yeah, how'd Michigan State do against Iowa and Ohio State this year?
Did we not beat Ohio State once?
I think lost by 1,000.
Oh. Yeah.
At least on the road.
I know Iowa was not. That was 1,000. But yes, let's wrap up the first round in the West region by talking about. I called them Coach K's Duke Blue Devils because like they're always his Duke Blue Devils, but like this year it's like
they actually don't have.
It's
players.
almost like it's him, and then like Duke is like also there.
They don't have players this year. It's just him. Yeah.
Like he's gonna go out there. Oh god, just the fact that they got a 2 seed at all is like insane. But anyways,
he's wearing his
Duke
weird West Point Duke ring.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was funny. He's got his weird ring that like broke, and then his wife was like, "Fuck Army," and then was like, "I'm putting Duke on this." I hate the military. Anyways, Duke, going in. I don't think Cal State Fullerton. It's just like Duke has literally 5 NBA players on the court, so at some point,
That's
just
an
like
issue.
a Cal State Fullerton team that's not like the hot UCSB teams that have come out of that conference in past years, or even
Long Beach.
Long Beach States.
There's
like,
been some
that
decent
situation.
teams coming out of the Big West in the past. Fullerton is not one of those teams. This team is trash. That conference is trash.
That conference is so bad this year. I went to a Hawaii game 2 weeks ago. It was wild. Like they were playing Cal Poly. They had a dude out there that like I'm pretty sure it was like Sean Ryder. Like was just like
shout out.
like he was just like on the court playing for Cal Poly. And he was
Cal
like their
Poly's
6th man.
awful.
Like he was definitely on scholarship. So
Yeah,
like
Cal
it was
Cal Poly's awful.
and
But,
we
yeah.
almost lost. We were down 5 with 2 minutes to go, and we came back and won. It was like really hype and shit for the whole program. But anyways, that Hawaii team came in 3rd place in the conference.
Yeah, the Hawaii team also will not be in this tournament.
So like that just goes to show you just like everything you need to know there. So let's talk about let's transition Duke into the next round. Let's move and let's just start pushing everything to the next round. So a Duke Michigan State matchup.
Yeah.
What could you think could come out of that?
If Tyson Walker is healthy, I could see actually Michigan State winning the game.
What? Holy
Yeah.
shit. I mean,
Because
Duke is bad.
yeah, right, and they're also particularly bad at defending spread ball screens. Like you saw North Carolina essentially run the same play for an entire half, and like R.J. Davis and Brady Manick just ran pick and roll and pick and pop, and Duke just had no idea what to do, and which is weird because they're a Hall of Fame coach. Like I guess had no ideas. I don't know.
Well, again, the season's not about Duke. This
Right.
season's not about Duke.
That's true, but so I mean, like obviously Paolo Banchero is like one of the most talented players in the country, and
Who's guarding
Yeah.
him?
that's the issue. I
Joey
guess.
Hauser?
I think the answer.
I mean,
is
it's
Julius
actually going to
Marble.
be Hauser to start the game, so that's like crazy.
I think the answer is Julius Marble. Isn't it?
For 3 minutes till he fouls out, but yeah.
Yeah, well, true. Yeah.
I don't know. It's crazy because, like you said, like I really dislike this Duke team more than past years because I can't even respect them. And, the Jahlil Okafor teams, the Jason Tatum teams, like I'm just like, wow, they're good and I hate them. But this team is bad and I hate them. And if this was any other Michigan State team since we've been in college there, I think it's one of the easier Duke matchups we've ever seen.
Well, there's only one Duke team that we liked, and they lost Michigan State. So
Right.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah. I like Trey Jones.
Okay, that's fine.
When he stepped on Foster Lawyer, that was fun. Oh, yeah, that was the other thing I was going to say. Say Michigan State does lose to Davidson, we get a Foster Lawyer Duke rematch, and it's so sick.
Yeah, I would say Jeremy Roach might recreate history, kick him in the face.
Maybe they could go like 2 players at once, like type of thing, like a This Is Sparta. Anyways, moving up, Texas Tech, Alabama. Let's say that matchup happens. I have Texas Tech.
Yeah, I like Texas Tech a lot.
I think they're good. I think they're deserving of a 3 seed. one of those middle of the pack 3 seeds I see. They have, I believe, the best defense in the Big 12 and like a top 5 defense in the country in terms of efficiency. So that always kind of translates. And if you're shooting bad one day, which they do, they really do, that can happen. Moving up, UConn, Arkansas. Thoughts if that is a matchup?
Oh, man. I would say I like the experience that Arkansas has in that game. I haven't done as much prep for potential second-round matchups as I did the first round.
No, yeah. There's no stats here.
Yeah.
We're just going like where we feel.
No, I like Arkansas. I think Arkansas is a pretty talented team. I like Arkansas better than other teams in the SEC. Spoiler. There's some teams in the SEC I'm down on, such as Alabama. So, yeah, I'll go Arkansas.
I actually have UConn. I think that UConn and Arkansas are very similar teams, just in this fact that UConn is lacking the experience that you just mentioned Arkansas does have. But I think UConn has the advantage in terms of they're playing better right now. Like, they're very, very much coming together. They beat Villanova. They actually, I think, lose to DePaul, like, at the end of the regular season. And then in the conference tournament, they come out. They look amazing. They almost beat Villanova in the semifinal.
Right.
I don't know.
Should have won that game.
They're a really fun team, and I feel like all 5 guys on that court for UConn are very talented, and like they're meshing together at the right time. So
yeah, I would agree with that.
Move forward there. Let's move on. We are now at the East region. Jesus, this is a fun region.
I like this region a lot.
This is so crazy, actually.
I like
everything
this region.
That's in this.
I like this region a lot. I don't like it as much as I hate the Midwest region. I hate the Midwest region. Like, I actually despise it. We'll get to that later. But.
I do too, now that I'm looking at it. But yeah, let's focus on the East region. The defending champion, Baylor Bears.
Yeah.
They come away with a 1 seed. I just have written, Baylor is so injured.
Yeah.
Like, they're extremely limping to the finish line here. They have a couple guys that, like, maybe are coming back.
Well, the big guy isn't coming back. His first name is Jonathan.
Yeah, no, his last name's, like, you can't even pronounce it.
It's impossible.
I think he's, like, the reigning Big 12 Defense Player of the Year, though, or something.
Yeah, he's a great player. But
or maybe,
he ain't
like, the
coming
preseason
back.
pick. But, yeah, he's gone. And yet Baylor still finds a way to win these games and beat very good teams like Kansas.
Yeah, and they don't have LJ Cryer, which is tough because, like, they don't really have a lot of guard depth anymore, like, with the guys that went to the NBA last year. So, I mean, they're good, obviously, but depth's an issue. Like, they're super talented. Kendall Brown's, like, and Jeremy Sochan are both freshmen that have been, like, really impressive this year. At the wing spot for Brown and big for Sochan. But, I mean, we'll see what happens as they move along in the tournament. Early on, I don't really see any team that could beat them. But as it moves along, like, there's a path for an upset as we get closer to the tournament. As it gets closer to the Final Four.
For sure. So let's move on to the 8-9 game in the East region. My North Carolina Tar Heels are actually very hot right now. They, believe what you will, but their only loss in the past 3 weeks has come to the only team hotter than them. So, them playing Marquette, who's total opposite, really stumbled into the tournament. They actually were like competing for the Big East regular season title until like early February hit, and then they were just losing like crazy to like every team in the Big East, like even the bad ones. So that's what I think makes this, again, just a great matchup, because I think Marquette almost has like a chip on their shoulder, and Shaka Smart loves to wear a chip on his shoulder. But what are you seeing in this matchup?
Well, they got Daryl Marcel, right? Like, I mean, obviously that's kind of their team on the wing. Like, it'll be interesting to see who he guards. I imagine Caleb Love. Whoever Daryl Marcel guards is going to be a non-factor. Like, he is like a top 5 on-ball defender in the country. So, like, that is useful. But Marquette's problem is inside. Like, Justin Lewis is a decent player, but North Carolina is just going to clean up on the boards. Like, Marquette can't rebound, and North Carolina will destroy them on the glass. So,
North Carolina has the ACC Player of the Year, I believe.
Yeah, just ask Coach K.
Yeah, Armando Bacot. So it's going to be a very tough matchup for Marquette. I have PTSD in this matchup because North Carolina was in an 8-9 game last year.
Against a team from Wisconsin.
They were favored in this game.
Yes.
And they lose by 25. So in a game that like wasn't close even from the jump. Like it was actually crazy. Like they just wiped them.
Not for a single
easily.
Second. Yeah.
So in that sense, I just can't trust North Carolina with a first-year head coach, and just I don't know. This is a very, very tough game for me to pick, but I just have PTSD, and that's why I'm going with Marquette.
Interesting. I'm going to lay 3 with Carolina. I actually already did. I already bet it. The rebounding matchup's just an issue. I don't really see how you overcome that. Like, if you can't get rebounds, like, I don't know how you're going to win the game unless you have exceptional shooting, which Marquette doesn't. So
very true.
I got Carolina.
Let's talk upset watch in this region. I actually think this is like I don't even know my thoughts with these lower seeded teams. Like Akron, I know very little about. Yale, I might know even less about, besides the fact that they play in the Ivy League, so that essentially almost tells you nothing about a team when they come out of the Ivy League and they win that conference. Like I feel like I just go straight to their non-conference schedule and just try to like analyze that, because like Harvard's not going to tell you anything about the basketball court.
Could I sell you on Akron?
Oh, okay. We have an Akron poll. Akron is taking on defending Final Four people.
UCLA Bruins.
What is up with the Zips?
Okay, so 2 things. Number 1, their best player is named Ali.
I love that. That's like a cock for UConn.
Exactly. And Ali is going to be matched up with Jaime Jaquez. So that's like a commentator's dream right there. All game. And if he could body him up, I think that could be interesting. I mean, they're 14-point underdogs. Like, do I think they'll win? No, but I think they can keep it interesting. And that game's in Portland. If the Gonzaga fans have stuck around and are like hammered and cheering against UCLA, and Gonzaga fans,
do Gonzaga fans get hammered?
Yes.
Really?
They get rowdy.
Wow.
Yes. So if there's like a bunch of Gonzaga fans in the building cheering hard for Akron, like this would have. I think that this is a game where you could like see the score and be like, huh, and then like you cut to it and Mick Cronin's calling timeout, and like the crowd's going nuts because like Akron's up like 17-7.
Okay.
And then UCLA still like wins by 20, but like it's fun for that moment, you know.
Yeah. That is interesting, and that's something to look out for sure. I just think UCLA, they returned all 5 starters from a Final Four team last year.
Yeah, it's an issue.
Johnny Juzang is actually not himself at all. Like he's averaging like 12 points per game since he returned from injury in mid-February. He's averaging like 30% from the field in that time as well. I've watched a couple UCLA games. He's like a non-factor. It's the Jaime show 100%, and it's so fun to watch. He's doing these like crazy NBA moves. Like I could honestly see him like getting drafted in like the 2nd round.
Yeah, I'm a Jaime guy.
Tiger Campbell, been there. He's been there. I just
True.
think UCLA, it's a little too much for Akron.
I would agree.
Moving on to Purdue-Yale. Any situation for Yale here? Or do we just pick Purdue and move on to the next game?
I'm going to pick Purdue and move on to the next game.
Let's do that. The interesting ones. I have the Indiana Hoosiers going to the round of 32.
Okay. I like it. I don't.
I just think their matchup is like very good in both these games. St. Mary's is like a very good defense, but Indiana has played against a lot of good defenses, like Illinois, and they beat Illinois obviously. I can't name another one because I'm completely blanking, but I think that when times get tough,
Michigan State.
Right, and they lost.
Well, still played against them. You said played against.
Right. I think when the times get tough for Indiana, they found this weird formula where it's just like get it to trace and like move, and it will work against a team that's just like not built to explode like a St. Mary's or a Wyoming. And I just think they do it. I don't know. I'm not impressed with the St. Mary's team this year.
I like it. I like that pick. Indiana's around a 32. Okay. I disagree. I have St. Mary's going far.
Wow.
But I like how you're thinking.
Let's move on to Virginia Tech, Texas.
It's my favorite matchup of the first round.
I absolutely love this matchup.
My number one favorite matchup of the first round.
Texas, as we briefly mentioned, a very, very good defense. And they bring in a lot of transfers this year with a new head coach in Chris Beard, who, as we've said, has been to a national championship game in the past 3 years. So he comes in and he has to play this just smoking hot Virginia Tech team that we both watched on Saturday just take care of Duke like with ease, essentially. Like when the times were getting tough, when Duke was going on a run, Virginia Tech just answered. It was like it was clockwork.
But they had a guy who hit 8 threes.
Right. So like they're just so weirdly hot, and they have that point guard. Is that point guard from Wofford?
They're all from Wofford. Dude.
Okay, so like they all just like followed their coach to Virginia Tech. It's so cool.
Their 3 best players all played on the 2019 Wofford Terriers. It's actually amazing.
That's amazing. So they're all like seniors too then?
Yeah.
Wow. So, I mean, if you couldn't tell by now, I have Virginia Tech in that game.
Look out for Timmy Allen against Keve Aluma down low. That's a really fun matchup. Both like good passers. If the opposing team brings double teams, like that's gonna be fun to see how Chris Beard and Mike Young like choose to, if they let their guys be in there, because obviously you can't let those guys get in foul trouble. Like I'm really excited to see that matchup in particular.
Wow.
But you got the Hokies. This game's a pick'em. Like there's no favorite. It's literally
really?
a pick'em. Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy. I just think Texas, like, the Marcus Carr experiment has not worked. That's pretty clear.
Are you an Andrew Jones guy?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, good. Because I was going to say you're pro-cancer.
No, yeah. Andrew Jones, hero.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, just they can't shoot. They just cannot shoot. That entire team just can't shoot threes at all.
You know who can? Virginia Tech.
Right.
They're number 3 in the country.
Well, they're Wofford, so of course they can shoot threes.
True. Good point.
They breed threes. So I have the Virginia Tech Hokies. Let's move down to what I'm calling my heartbreaking matchup of the entire bracket.
Agreed.
Is like 2 teams that I like very easily saw going to the Sweet 16. Cinderella teams, possibly even an Elite 8 for either one. And they have to play each other in the first round. And whoever gets past that has to play fucking Kentucky.
Yeah,
and it's just like, it's so unfair. And it sucks because I know what the committee was trying to do here. They were like, Murray State, Kentucky, like it's going to be crazy in the second round, that Kentucky matchup. And it's just not fair. It's not fair to Murray State. It's unfortunate, and that's really all I have to say.
Yeah, I would agree. For this game, it's a fun matchup. Johan Masowski and KJ Williams inside. Johan Masowski averaged a double-double against Gonzaga in 3 matchups. Like, this dude can ball. KJ Williams, one of the best, like, most underrated offensive rebounders in the country. So it's a fun matchup. Jamari Bouye, the point guard for San Francisco, is probably going to play all 40 minutes, especially since Murray State plays a slow tempo, which is ironic because they're the racers.
Right. That is funny. And the John Morant.
Right. Like, this is not your, like, older brother's Murray State team. Like, this is a different team, a lot slower tempo. But San Francisco's a 1.5 point favorite in this game, even though they're a 10 seed.
Wow, that's crazy because Murray State also has lost like 1 game since Christmas. So
yeah, I think people have a lot of respect for what San Francisco's done this year, and I think people have a lot of respect for the West Coast Conference in general, right? Like
And that's a testament to like a St. Mary's, like you hinted at, you have going
Right.
deep. Gonzaga, the number one overall
Right.
seed, is this a different
Right.
year for them? It's just,
Right.
just even more of a reason looking at
Yeah.
USF.
Yeah, exactly. So I think like them, like a lot of teams from those small conferences, you would just say like, well, they didn't even dominate their conference. Why are they even in the tournament? I think people have a lot more respect for them than they have in the past.
So who do you have in this game?
The Dons. I'll take San Francisco.
Wow. I have Murray State. I just think they're very good, and they have a lot of players from that John Morant team, actually, that are now the leading scorers on this Murray State team. It's almost like they've been there. They feel like they deserve it. They almost feel disrespected being next to Kentucky right here, because I think they are not stupid either. They know exactly what the committee was trying to do.
It'd be a fun matchup, like a Kentucky matchup, in-state matchup in Indianapolis.
Right. So let's move on and talk about Kentucky for a second here. You know, are you on the train of
Yes.
they'd be a 1 seed if not injured?
I'm on the train of like they are one of the best 4 teams in the country. Let's put it that way. So like I don't know like if they should be one side, so they would be 1 seed, whatever. Like, but they're like this is a really, 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 really good team.
I agree. And I've caught a few Kentucky games this year, and they have one of those talented teams that maybe it's not like the 5 stars coming in like a Bam Adebayo, a De'Aaron Fox, and Malik Monk, where you're just like, wow. Well,
they're more experienced
right.
than the Kentucky team that you would assume. Like Xavier Wheeler, Ty Washington, Oscar Tshiebwe, obviously like probably the National Player of the Year. Like, yeah,
I really don't know what more they could want or need right now, especially since they're all healthy right now at the right time.
Yeah, we'll get to it, but yeah, I'm big on Kentucky.
So yeah, let's wrap up this East region. Is there a scenario? Just give me your Elite 8 2 teams coming out of this region.
St. Mary's and Kentucky.
Wow.
Yeah.
Riding the West Coast Conference.
Give me St. Mary's to the Elite 8.
That's wild.
I think Baylor's got problems, as we've talked about. Baylor's not the team that they were last year, certainly, and they're really not even the team they were earlier this year. St. Mary's is a team that plays a weird style. If you're not used to it, it could take some getting used to. That game's in Philadelphia, so there's no home court advantage for Baylor at all. Like, it's not like they're playing down south or anything like that. Like, yeah, I think if St. Mary's gets there, I think they can beat Baylor.
Wow.
I do not think they could beat Kentucky.
I have UCLA, Kentucky.
Okay.
I think
You just want to see it.
Yeah, it's just UCLA is just like you bring back 5 stars from a Final Four team.
Right.
They go through the adversity that you'd expect that ends up putting them on the 4 line that they are on. Realistically, no injuries, you know. If they're even playing somewhat better as of late, maybe they're looking at a 3 seed or a 2 seed. So that's what we're looking at. UCLA, Kentucky for me, St. Mary's, Kentucky for you, and I assume we both have Kentucky to the Final Four.
We do, but like, let's talk about that. Well, we're going to talk about it, but just mention St. Mary's UCLA in the second round in Portland. Like, I can't wait. Like, I literally can't wait. Like, that's going to be
California matchup.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Let's move on. Halfway through this March Madness bracket for 2022, we move to the South region. Arizona, the second best team in the country according to the committee.
Yeah.
Are they actually the second best team in the country?
Well, if Kerr Kriisa comes back, that definitely helps. Like, they didn't have him against UCLA in the Pac-12 tournament championship game, and they struggled in the first half. They figured it out because they're, like, really good. Maturin, Jubelis, Koloko, like, this team's solid. So, like, I think that they have maybe the least holes in the country, the Go-Ready team. And they just like pound the paint. Like, they get in there. Like, they don't really like have like amazing spacing offensively. They just like find ways to score, and they get their guys in good positions. Really good big-to-big passing and just, like, smart reads on screens. Like, I just really like what they're doing. I really, really, really like what Tommy Lloyd's doing.
I think it's interesting because I guarantee a lot of our listeners have not watched an Arizona game this year. It's hard to catch an Arizona game because you rarely get those UCLA-Arizona matchups, USC-Arizona matchups that would even be televised. A lot of the time they're playing Oregon State, they're playing fucking Arizona State, whatever, and the game just doesn't matter. They're playing Oregon, who ends up being a laughingstock. So it's interesting talking about them because a lot of people don't know a lot about them. And I think that this region is actually the most talented region. I think there are the most good teams in this region.
Yeah, I could see that. I would agree with that.
So, you know, it's going to be tough for Arizona. But like you said, I would agree with you. The little that I have seen from them this year has just been so good and so solid. And you know, they trip up at Colorado, but that was only because the Storm Chasers were there. There's literally no other reason that they lose that game.
True.
So
that's science.
That's enough about Arizona. The 8-9 game in this one, probably the most boring 8-9 game in the bracket. We have the Seton Hall Pirates versus the TCU Horned Frogs and Jamie Dixon. This is actually only the second time TCU has been to the tournament since 2000.
Right. Yeah, doesn't happen very often.
Pretty wild. Because I
Not
feel
a
like
basketball
I've
school.
seen their name a couple times, but I
Not
haven't.
a basketball school. Not a basketball school.
No, they haven't. Go Frogs.
You're thinking of like SMU.
Right. Go Frogs, though. I love that they do this with their.
Yeah, it is. It's like fight on USC.
It is, but like I like that. You know, it's the fact that it's unique to them and it makes sense. Like,
but if you have like if you had a stroke or something.
Right. So, I heard an analyst earlier say that first team to 50 in this game wins.
That's not nice.
It's their offenses are so streaky and it's wild. But I think what really comes down to is which team is more equipped for like a tournament style play. Where is this game? This game is in San Diego, California. So
yeah, should be a great.
There's actually going to be 0 fans from either team at this game.
Yeah, and it's also like Texas Tech and Alabama fans. Like in the other, like it's like there's no like there's to be 10 people at this fucking game.
So it's going to be so boring and so weird that I think really anything can happen. So what do you think about this matchup?
I think TCU's guards rebound really well, and Seton Hall doesn't rebound well, and I think there's your difference. So TCU's a 1-point underdog. I bet them. I would bet them pretty sizable. Like they can't shoot, which is like obviously a concern, but at least they know they can't shoot.
True.
So they just kind of play volleyball off the boards. Mike Miles is a fun player, point guard, and I like this TCU team. I think that they know what they are, and they're just gonna as they say, muck it up.
I think what's fun about this matchup is that TCU has actually been there, and they've beaten Kansas. Yes. Okay. So they beat Kansas. I think they have a couple other very good wins in the Big 12. Seton Hall, however, they basically lose to every good Big East team in conference.
But they beat
the
every
bad
bad
ones. Yeah, they beat the bad ones, and that's why they're here, and that's why they're on the 8 line. So I think TCU has the higher ceiling, but again, this is such a pick'em game for me personally. I have absolutely no way of predicting this. I have Seton Hall, so let's just we'll split and we'll just say
give
that
me the Frogs.
Pick whoever you want. That's our advice.
Right.
Upset watch on this side of the bracket, I think, is so fun. These are some really, really fun double-digit seeds. And yes, I did just call Michigan fun. I did just say that the team with multiple All-Americans and the AP first-team player as an 11 seed is fun because that's what I'm choosing to say.
They're not. It's not an upset if they win because they're 2.5-point favorites.
Oh, nice. Good to know because I picked them. I don't even know what more there is to say. Like, it's such a mind fuck seeing like the number 11 next to the word Michigan, and then like a 6 being next to Colorado State. Like, it's honestly, like, I don't even like looking at it. It's weird to my eyes.
David Roddy's like one of the most underrated players in the country.
He is,
like,
but I've seen him play. This dude is so not talented. It's crazy.
That's not nice.
He's just like, I'll back you down, and I'm just like thicker than you, and I'm just gonna like put it over you, and like I'll score 15 a game and 7 rebounds, and we'll call it a night, and we'll beat the shit out of Idaho.
Well, we'll see if Musa Diabate can handle it. Hey, did you know that? So Illinois plays Chattanooga, right?
Mm-hmm.
Chattanooga's big is Silvio De Sousa.
What?
Yes.
Oh my God! Hide your chairs.
Held a chair aloft.
Hide your chairs, bro. We need stools, or I don't even know if stools are safe. We should have like they should bring in Vanderbilt's court so that like all the chairs are below the court, right. And we just like give us that extra second to react when he picks one up.
I like that. It's in your town too. It's in Pittsburgh.
That's actually crazy.
I will say though, like he probably needs a chair to stop Kofi Coburn.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how is he gonna guard Kofi?
Chairless.
Yeah, chairless. It's an amazing question. What do you know about Chattanooga? Because I basically picked Illinois and just like moved on.
I know that Silvio De Sousa is their center. That's it.
I looked at their recent schedule. They basically beat most teams by like 5.
Yeah, they're all right.
They lose to a couple teams in their little conference that I couldn't name another school from. Furman?
Nice. I think that's the Big South, I think.
Can you name another team that Chattanooga plays in conference?
East Tennessee State.
Oh, okay. So they're normally in here.
Yeah.
Oh, and they're normally a 13 too. I like. Okay.
Yeah. Hey, UAB plays Houston, but like, so Houston's like probably the most underseeded team.
Yes.
In this entire bracket, like they're a 5 seed, which is bananas.
Which is so sad because UAB is one of those really, really, really fun teams.
If they're a 1-man team,
and
like they have nobody else besides Jelly.
They gave me like Oral Roberts vibes when I was watching their film.
Yeah.
They kind of just are 5 dudes that like run around and shoot a bunch, and they just like run you out of the gym type of thing. But like you said, Houston is a 5 who had an amazing season. Like the Houston Cougars won their conference championship in the regular season.
So they're number 4 in Ken Pom.
Oh my God.
Houston's number 4 in Ken Pom in the country, and they're a 5 seed.
And they're not even the 4th best team in their region.
So, I mean, not that Ken Pom's the end-all be-all or anything, but like, that's mystifying.
Okay, so we both have Houston in that game, which again it pained me to say because I loved UAB and I wanted to pick them, but it just wouldn't happen. Longwood, no. Tennessee is winning that game.
Here's what I wrote. I said Tennessee should be a 2 seed. Longwood should be a 15, maybe a 16. Like Longwood's not good. Like Longwood being a 14
should be playing Wright State on Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly. We need Peter Kist against Tennessee. Like
seriously, what were they thinking? So we got Tennessee versus Michigan in the round of 32. Moving to the bottom of the bracket, Ohio State Loyola. What a awesome matchup here for Loyola.
Well, Jacob Hudson's their big guy, and he's been hurt. So he's only like the last couple games that he's been back, he's played like 4 minutes. So he better play, or else EJ Liddell's gonna have fun.
I mean, I doubt even if he plays, he can guard EJ Liddell. But again, that hasn't really seemed like a problem for these other teams that are playing Ohio State. Like EJ is just like in this weird zone right now where he's playing like NBA ball. He's kind of like
issue
done.
for Michigan State.
He's just like done with this college bullshit. Like he's like
Malachi Branham is done with this college. Like okay,
but
Malachi
he's still
Branham,
like young and innocent. Like he's like, yeah, we're gonna win. Like I want to win.
Malachi Branham could like lead Ohio State to the Final Four, or like not defend for a single possession against Loyola. Like anything's in play.
Loyola They have the youngest coach in all of Division One, I believe.
Drew Valentine.
So they play a very slow, methodical play. I saw
Yeah.
someone actually who compared Loyola to Villanova, which is interesting, obviously, with that next round matchup in play. But, very slow, very methodical, very experienced team.
For Loyola, I wrote down they got their 6 man off the bench, 44% 3-point shooter, Braden Norris from Hilliard, Ohio, 18 minutes from Ohio Stadium, not recruited by Ohio State. Let's
This
go.
is his dream matchup. This game's in
Let's
Pittsburgh,
go.
right?
I believe so.
Yep.
Yeah.
This game pains me to know is in Pittsburgh because I would love to be at this game. This is so fun. There's
You
gonna
talking about Villanova, Delaware?
Yes, Villanova, Delaware.
Yeah. Delaware's underseeded. If Delaware was playing a third, if Delaware was playing a 4 seed, they could win.
Really?
They can't be Villanova, but if they were playing honestly Illinois, they would be interesting.
Wow. But yeah, I have Loyola beating Ohio State, and I have Villanova beating Delaware.
Loyola's laying 1 point against Ohio State, so it's pretty close to a pick 'em.
Okay. Do you think there's a scenario where Ohio State wins comfortably?
I mean, there's a scenario for sure. They're more talented, but I think it's gonna be pretty close. That's another game I'm looking forward to. It's one of my favorite games of the first round.
Agreed. I have written here to finish up this region, Villanova is confusing.
Agreed.
I feel like I've watched every single Villanova game this season, all 32. They, in the past month, have probably a point differential of 3. It's crazy. They're squeaking out wins versus all these Big East teams, and it must be so frustrating to be another Big East team because Villanova, is the end all be all. They are the crown of the Big East right now.
Here you go. It's actually really simple. Why are they winning these games, these close games? Because they're the greatest free throw shooting team in the history of college basketball.
Wow.
They are the number 1 free throw shooting team that has ever played this game. So, you want to win close games? Make your fucking free throws.
And that's honestly very important to know because, free throws in the NCAA tournament.
Right.
Cannot stress that enough. How many times does someone miss a free throw and then the other team grabs a rebound, comes down, hits a buzzer beater 3? Villanova, led by Colin Gillespie, the Big East Player of the Year. This dude is just a winner. If you hear Jay Wright talk about him, he literally has said that he is his favorite Villanova player he's ever coached.
Ryan Archidiakono in tears.
Yeah, and Ryan Archidiakono's little brother on the bench, just
Yeah.
That's my teammate.
Chris Jenkins, I don't know what else I have to do.
Yeah, Chris is what the fuck? But, Slater, Justin Moore,
Yeah.
Eric Dixon down low is literally a beast. He's a beast. Yeah. He's like a Walmart Kofi Cockburn.
Jermaine Samuels. You're a Jermaine Samuels guy?
Yeah. Huge Jermaine Samuels guy, especially after what he went through last year, man. Oh, my God.
True.
So to wrap up the South region, I have Villanova actually coming out of this region. I think that, they're finding a way to win the big games, and they have the metrics. I just love them.
Okay, I will take Arizona over Tennessee.
Wow.
Give me Tennessee over Villanova in the Sweet 16. 2 great games. San Antonio is going to have back-to-back great games. Villanova, Tennessee should be awesome, and then Arizona against the winner of that team. Should be awesome. Arizona, Houston. Arizona against the winner of Houston, Illinois, even. If that, to me, is by far the most fun region. And it makes me angry that we have to deal with this bullshit in the Midwest coming up.
Totally agree. I mean, the potential matchups in the second round are Villanova, Loyola, Chicago. Amazing. Tennessee, Michigan. Jawan's going to punch someone. Illinois, Houston.
That's a given.
Rocky Top does not put up with that bullshit.
No, I'm excited. No, this region's fun. I wish 2 teams from this region could make it to the Final Four, and the Midwest could just go away.
And Illinois Houston could end up being like an all-time classic.
Yeah.
So that's that with the South. Now for our last region, the Midwest. Boy, is this just a hideous combination of bad basketball teams.
No, you're gonna. I'm cooking some shit up. So.
Kansas, the third best team in the country according to the committee. They have the 1 seed here.
That's actually insane.
I'm wondering why Kansas isn't better than they are or have been this season. They don't
have. Good.
Well, just like they have Ochai. They have the shooters. They have the big men. Like they have Bill Self. Like,
well, do they have the big? Like, is David McCormick and Jalen Wilson? Like, those are not. Like, with all due respect, like that's not.
I just feel like they're like 6'10" and huge and like grab rebounds. Like,
yeah, they still get.
I don't know what more you really need.
Well, they're a 1 seed. I mean, they're not that bad.
Right, but I'm saying like they've lost a solid number of games this season.
Yeah, but because I don't think that those players are that like by Kansas standards are not that talented.
I just feel like Kansas could have been in contention for the number 1 overall seed this year, and they just weren't even in the conversation. So.
No, I'd agree with that.
That's all I'm wondering with Kansas. I'm not too worried about them. I have them going to the Final Four. Spoiler alert! But just because this region is such a disaster.
Absolute dog shit.
We'll go quick with the 8-9 game here. San Diego State versus Creighton.
Creighton can't shoot, which is weird because if you haven't been paying attention and you're like, oh, Creighton, like they're the team that makes all threes. Not this year.
Well, Creighton went to the Elite Eight last year, and they have exactly 0 players from that Elite Eight team on their team right now. And yet they just almost won the Big East championship in the conference tournament. So I'm hard-pressed to tell whether they're hot, quote-unquote hot right now. But they looked very good against the Providence Friars on Friday night.
Well, we'll get to them later. Creighton's best offensive play is like throwing the ball at the hoop and letting Ryan Kalkbrenner just like grab it off the board and dunk it because he's like a giant person.
The Big East championship, for reference, for all of you that didn't watch it, was Creighton versus Villanova, and the halftime score was 19-16. Nova.
Yeah.
16 first half points. And only down 3.
and I said to my coworker who's from New York, I said, hell of a fucking conference you got.
Oh my gosh. It was hard to watch. But then both teams eventually started to figure it out. And like you said, it was get it to Kalkbrenner and get out of the way. Right. Alex O'Connell could not have been colder if he tried.
Well, because the whole team cannot, like, the last 5 minutes was like, oh, Creighton for 3, clank. Oh, good look, clank. Well, like, Villanova was like, please, keep shooting threes.
Well, they went like 20 for 20 from 3 against Providence, so I think like they were just kind of in like, we can do it mode, just keep trying.
Yeah, well, okay.
I don't know much about San Diego State, surprisingly. Every game I watched this year for them in the regular season, they ended up losing, but here they are. So do you know anything about this matchup that maybe people want to know?
Good defensive team. Like top 20 in defense, good defensive rebounding, which is important against Kalkbrenner. They're laying 2 points here. I think this could go either way. If I had to bet it, I would bet San Diego State, but it's probably a stay away.
Who do you have winning the game?
I'll go Creighton.
I also have Creighton.
Right, let's have fun. Yeah.
I don't even know why. Honestly, I've just watched more games and I like them. Let's move on to Iowa-Richmond. Richmond, our bid stealers from earlier.
Yeah.
Boy, do they not belong here, and the committee said,
true.
You don't belong here.
You have to play like the hottest team in the country. Yeah.
The committee really said, yeah, you need to leave ASAP.
Yeah.
And the Iowa Hawkeyes with, I think, the best player in the country. That's my personal opinion.
Whoa.
Keegan Murray
Jordan Bohannon
is so Keegan Murray is so sick, dude. Like his style of play is so sick. He's just like, he honestly reminds me of like LeBron, but like the college basketball version of LeBron, where like he can do anything. He could take over at any moment. He'll dunk on anyone. He'll make like a weird like step back three sometimes. And yeah, he's unstoppable.
I'm still trying to recover from you comparing Keegan Murray to LeBron.
But do you know what I mean though? Like I'm not comparing him to LeBron James. I'm saying like if LeBron James was a college basketball player. Not like him as a person. Like I'm saying like what he can do, but college basketball player version of it.
I mean, Keegan Murray's good. He's a 3-level scorer for sure, but
right, and a great defender, and
yeah.
Well, actually, he's kind of quiet, so he doesn't have like the cockiness and like the douchiness of LeBron. But
watch yourself.
Yeah, I got the Iowa Hawkeyes there. Providence, South Dakota State. Ooh, did I watch film on both these teams?
Okay, so Providence is only a 2-point favorite.
Deservedly so.
Right, because they're terrible.
I have never seen a team be so cold at times. Like, they'll go 10 minutes without a field goal in multiple games in Big East play. Now,
I wish they had won. I wish they'd won the Big East tournament so they could be a 2 seed and I could bet against them in like the first round. Like that would be
Holy
great.
shit! What if they played like St. Peter's?
Well,
Would we be like looking at that game actually and like not just like picking them?
Well, we'll get to it. We'll get to the 2 seed.
So South Dakota State is actually the number 1 3-point shooting team in the country.
Yes.
They are, as you'd expect, all white.
You said it, not me.
They are extremely, extremely hot. This is a team that actually, unlike Murray State, who has lost 1 game since Christmas, they have not lost a game since Christmas. December 15th, to be exact. I don't know how that's saying much in the Summit League, but a Summit League team has won a NCAA tournament game in each of the last 2 NCAA tournaments.
Good stat.
What do you think about this South Dakota State team?
Well, like, okay, so the fact that they're a 2-point underdog shows you how close people think that this matchup is, like how much of fucking frauds Providence is. But the thing is, like, Providence is so fraudulent that like everyone realizes they're fraudulent. You know what I mean? Like, it's so obvious, like they're overdoing it. So, like, I do think Providence probably wins. Like, they are still like a major conference team, and and they're also on notice. Like, I think Providence also knows they're not that good. So, like, they're not going to be like, oh, yeah, we'll just walk in and beat South Dakota State, no problem. Because, like, that applies to nobody. Like, there's nobody that they can just walk in and beat no problem. So, I got Providence that game.
Now, we'll wrap up, and I do want to talk about how the fans are actually back for the first time since the 2019 tournament, obviously. This game's in Buffalo. Providence travels pretty well. I think that will actually play a factor into this game. However, I do have South Dakota State. I just think,
I like it.
Like, there's always that team in March Madness that is just so hot from 3 that, like, a team just can't keep up. And you look at the Creighton game the other day where Creighton was just shooting from everywhere, and they were just making it. And Providence lost by 40, and, like, there was just no answer. They couldn't make threes because they're not good at threes.
That could happen.
Nate Watson is a beast, but they refuse to play through him sometimes, and it's so weird. So I have South Dakota State.
Do you want to get my upset pick?
Is it the next game?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Well, let's talk about the.
We could talk LSU Iowa State briefly. LSU has no coach.
They have no coach.
Now
that
State
can
has no
actually
wins.
work. LSU with no coach can act. That actually, we've seen that work in the tournament before, where a team is just like, fuck it. We're playing rec basketball now.
Yeah.
And
well, LSU kind of just plays rec basketball in general.
Regardless, right. So Iowa State, I'm pretty sure Iowa State was like number 8 in the country in December, and then went like under 500 in conference.
They don't even like belong in the tournament. The only reason they're in the tournament is because like they have a few good wins. I was like, they did blow out Iowa, so like that's worth something. But like it obviously wasn't the Iowa that Iowa became. Like I got no use for this Iowa State team. Like if Iowa State was playing a real 6 seed,
They've beaten Oklahoma. They've beaten Texas Tech. They've beaten TCU. They beat Memphis by 20.
They beat Texas, didn't they?
Yes, Texas, and they beat Creighton. So they've beaten a decent amount of tournament teams.
I got no use for this Iowa State team.
I'm going to change this pick like 5 times before the game actually happens. But as of right now, my gut is telling me that Iowa State's going to pull it off in Milwaukee. Wisconsin and Colgate. Is this your ups? Okay. I was going to say. I didn't even look at Colgate. I think Wisconsin is just kind of like built for this type of thing.
Agreed.
And so we'll
it's
move
in Milwaukee.
on. Yeah. I want to move on to USC Miami because I think this is actually the biggest pick'em game of the entire tournament.
Okay.
Because we have a team that is amazing at rebounding in USC. Incredible.
Yes.
And Miami ranks in the bottom 15% in all of Division I in rebounding. So they're probably in like the 300 range.
That doesn't feel like a pick'em to me.
It doesn't. But USC cannot shoot.
Yeah.
Miami can.
Shooting's overrated.
So it's going to be like a very weird game to me, and I just don't know what's going to happen.
I picked USC. I bet USC. They're laying 1.5 points. I bet them big. I don't believe in this Miami team. I like this USC team a lot. We'll get into that later.
So I also have USC, and that leaves one more matchup that you have not revealed your upset yet in the Midwest bracket.
Yeah, because it's Jacksonville State over Auburn.
Wow.
Let's go.
This is an Auburn team with
State.
2 top 10 picks in the NBA draft.
Yep.
Tell me about Jacksonville State.
Well, they don't belong here because they didn't win their conference tournament. They're the team that's in because Bellarmine's not allowed to be.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So they're confused.
Yeah, they're like, why are we here?
They're like, lost. I thought I could go home.
Yeah. All right, I'm just talking about Jacksonville State. They're obviously the Atlantic Sound regular season champions that didn't make it.
Shout out to them.
Shout out to regular season. Okay, here we go. Here's my upset pick. Okay, Auburn, all young dudes. I have no experienced players. Jabari Smith's obviously a freshman. Wendell Green a sophomore. Walker Kessler's even a sophomore. Wendell Green Jr. can and maybe will lose Auburn this game by himself. Him and Katie Johnson. Those two guards, Katie Johnson shot 0 for 12 from 3 against Texas A&M. They will not stop shooting. You have Jabari fucking Smith on your team. Please just give him the ball.
It's crazy. The amount of times I've seen Auburn this year be down by 8 with a minute left, and then Jabari just makes every shot and then brings it back, and then it's a free throw thing, and then they lose. It's actually wild. But that is interesting that you genuinely think Jacksonville State has a chance in this game.
So here's why: Auburn can't defend the 3-pointer, which we've seen in the SEC. We've seen them lose games because teams keep bombing away. Jacksonville State has 4 players that shoot over 35% from 3. They have a guy named Damari King off the bench. He's a 50% 3-point shooter.
Holy
50%. Now, he's not a great defender. But, Jacksonville State will shoot, and they will keep shooting, and they will keep shooting, and they will keep shooting. If those shots go in, they can win. This game's in Greenville. It's going to be a lot of Duke fans. It's going to be overwhelmingly Duke fans. If Jacksonville State gets up, this game could get really interesting. And I think Auburn can fold. We've seen this team fold before. And we've seen this team become over-reliant on its young guards that aren't that good when the answer is just get it to Jabari Smith and Walker Kessler. And instead, Wendell Green and Katie Johnson are going to take 37 shots. And if that happens, they can lose. Jacksonville State, the Gamecocks, give them to me. Outright. Plus 950 on the money line at Westgate.
This would be one of the biggest March Madness upsets of all time if this actually did happen. Bruce Pearl over under 2.5 shirts sweated through.
Ooh, okay. That's interesting. If
do you have a
Jacksonville
stat
State
for that?
wins, if Jacksonville State wins, it's over.
Well,
by the way, Jacksonville State lost by 6 in Tuscaloosa this year. They competed in Tuscaloosa this year. Like, they're not afraid of the SEC. This is an in-state matchup. Jacksonville State's in Alabama. They're not afraid of Auburn. Like, this
so they're actually a good
ready
team.
for
Like,
this.
they just had a bad game in the conference tournament.
Yeah, they lost to Jacksonville. Yeah. This was the best team the Atlantic's on all year. They lost to Jacksonville in the conference semifinals. They can win this game. Will they? I mean, probably not, but they can. Give them to me.
So can Wisconsin or Iowa pose a threat to go to the Final Four and threaten Kansas's run?
I would say Iowa more than Wisconsin.
Agreed. All right, well, that wraps up our region talk. To wrap up the podcast, I wanted to do what we did a little bit last year and just talk about, our toughest games to pick, our favorite matchups, the ones we're really looking forward to seeing. We'll start with you. You could name a couple.
I wrote down 3. Texas, Virginia Tech, Murray State, San Francisco, Colorado State, Michigan. I'm excited for all these games. Like, these are the types of games that, like, we look forward to all year. 6-11, 7-10 matchups like that. Fun games, cool, like, matchups inside, stylistic matchups, teams you're not used to see playing against each other. So those are the 3 I'm looking forward to the most, other than obviously whatever upset ends up happening.
I'm personally looking forward to Arkansas-Vermont. I think Vermont can do something here. I think Arkansas is just a little too experienced, a little too good to lose the game, but I think Vermont is actually a very good team.
Right.
I have Texas, Virginia Tech.
Right.
Obviously, I think that'll be an amazing, like, grinded out game for both teams. Whichever one is up at the end is not going to have a fun time trying to close it out. And Ohio State Loyola, obviously. I think that's going to be the most fun game to watch from tip to buzzer. I think it's going to be so back and forth. I think there's going to be a lot of timeouts, a lot of runs halted. And so be on the lookout for that. Your upset picks, or your most fun teams to watch, even if they don't pull out the upset in this first round.
Well, obviously Jacksonville State, I mentioned them. UAB's fun. I think they might kind of get, like, suffocated by Houston. Like South Dakota State, obviously, that'll be a fun game. I think Providence will win and cover, but it'll definitely be a fun game. But yeah, my big upset's Jacksonville State, and then, like, you got Cinderella's coming next, right?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Well, Jacksonville State, that's my Cinderella. Them going to round 32, that's a Cinderella enough.
True, it is. Well, and then they get to play USC next, which is, like, not scaring anyone. So, my fun team to watch in this tournament, personally, I'm going to have to go. I haven't even picked this ahead of time. I feel like I just have such eyes on Virginia Tech. Like, the way that they're playing right now is almost like, damn, like, where's this been?
Well, they were 2-7 in conference, and now they turned it all the way around and won the ACC tournament.
It's just so weird. It's one of those things where it's like, can a team be so hot that they truly are, like, unstoppable?
I don't know about unstoppable, but we'll see. I mean, if they do get by Texas, Purdue in the second round, like, that's a fun matchup.
That's what I'm saying, though, is, like, I don't think Texas is a great matchup for them.
Yeah.
But, like, are they so hot that it's just like, who cares? Yeah. And Texas chokes all the time, so it's really not that crazy. I also just love Murray State. You already said South Dakota State. I love them as well, but Murray State, it wouldn't be an upset, or would it?
They're technically an underdog.
Yeah, so it would be an upset, but
they're higher seeded.
Right.
It's confusing.
So it's a little weird, but I'm just, ever since John Moran, I'm a huge Murray State guy, and he's been riding for them, and they're just a really exciting team that's playing really well right now. Cinderella Picks, as you said, Jacksonville State is yours.
I got more.
Oh, go for it.
I got Rutgers in the Sweet 16.
Okay.
And I got St. Mary's in the Elite Eight.
Wow.
And I got another team from the Midwest in the Final Four. It is not Kansas or Auburn or Wisconsin.
Wow. Okay.
Or Providence or Iowa.
Keep that in mind for our later Final Four picks to wrap up the show. I have Indiana going to the round of 32. Not really an upset, but they would have to win 2 games to get there.
For sure, yeah.
I love Loyola Chicago. It's weird. It's almost like that turning point for them where it's like, all of a sudden, like, they, like, a major mid-major program that, like, comes into play year in and year out, you know.
And
young
can do
coach.
It with multiple coaches. Right? Porter Moser leaves. Yeah.
Drew Valentine's such an easy guy to want to play for, too. It's almost like they've gotten past the hump of being a Cinderella to now we're like, okay, we're getting transfers. We're getting Power 5 transfers consistently. Right. All of a sudden now you win a couple more NCAA tournament games. Now you're getting 3 stars and 4 stars committing to Loyola Chicago over places like, oh, I don't want to play at LSU. Like, I'll just go be the star at Loyola Chicago type of situation.
Dan Munson takes Gonzaga to the Elite Eight in 1999, leaves, takes another job. They promote an assistant named Mark Few. It's gone pretty well.
Literally. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Obviously, not saying Loyola Chicago is about to become the next century's Gonzaga, but I think this is a huge turning point for them, and their matchup is very, very good against Ohio State and Villanova. Not super convincing teams. Tennessee, very good, but, like, it's Tennessee.
That's true.
So we'll see if they can make a little run again, while Sister Jean's still kicking.
Yeah, it's only 139.
All right. Well, we already kind of spoiled your biggest letdowns, leading with the Auburn Tigers. But what top 16 seeds do you see, like, really just laying an egg in this tournament?
I could see Purdue easily losing to the winner of that Texas Virginia Tech game, which is kind of something that you hinted at as well. But, like, Purdue, I could definitely see them kind of laying down.
I feel
like I could see them, like, getting blown out in the second round if they, like, don't try.
I just feel like Purdue doesn't do anything exceptionally well.
Well, they've really disappointed me this year. Like, I thought they were the best team in the country at one point, and you're not feeling that way anymore.
I actually have Arizona as a little bit of a letdown. I'm not sure if I can trust the first-year head coach and this team that I haven't watched a whole lot. And they're in a really tough region as well. So
that's true.
I don't think they make it to the Final Four.
Okay.
Final Four picks. 2022 Final Four picks. I hate going chalk because, like, it's not going to happen. But I wish I could look into the future and just know which 6 seed will make it to the Final Four. I wish I knew. Let's start with you. Who's coming out of the West region?
Gonzaga.
I also have the Gonzaga Bulldogs coming out of the West. The East.
I think we have the same Final Four matchup.
We do. We have the
Gonzaga,
Kentucky Wildcats. That'll be so...
Can you imagine Gonzaga, Kentucky in the Final Four?
Please let that happen.
Please.
Out of the South.
Arizona.
I have Villanova.
Okay.
We
each have Wildcats.
True. And the Midwest. You have the Iowa Hawkeyes.
I have the USC Trojans.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
It's not really like that I think they're that good. It's that I think the region's ass. And I think, like, if Auburn gets knocked out, as I'm predicting, then USC gets Jacksonville State in the second round. So that's, like, a nice matchup, obviously. So if they beat them and move on, then they get Wisconsin. I'm not convinced by them. I think they can beat Wisconsin. And I think, I'm not even sure if Kansas gets there, right? Like, Iowa.
Right.
Like, if it's Iowa beats Kansas or something like that, and then you have Iowa against USC, I like USC.
I'm not even sure if Kansas, like, takes care of Creighton that easily.
Yeah,
if
honestly,
that happens.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. We've seen Kansas lose in the second round as a 1 seed before.
Many times. Oh, that reminds me. Villanova, playing in Pittsburgh for the first time since Fluke Girl.
Oh, true.
They were
Piccolo Girl.
They were a 1 seed that year, and they lost in the round of 32. They're a 2 seed this year, playing in Pittsburgh. I guarantee they're thinking about it.
I picked them to win the national title in 2015 and 2016. And then 2017, I was like, enough of this fucking team. I had picked him in 2014, 2015.
Okay.
And then I was like, enough of this fucking team. In 2016, they won a title, and I was like, fuck. I can't figure this team out.
But yeah, so I have Gonzaga, Kentucky, Villanova, Kansas. You have Gonzaga,
Okay.
Kentucky, Arizona, USC.
Yeah.
I love that you picked USC, not because I think that's going to happen, but just because, like, something like that is going to happen, and it's just a matter of getting
3 teams from the West Coast.
it right.
Let's go.
Who is your national champion?
Are we going to go Final Four first? Like, are we going to go, like...
Oh. Okay.
Like, you know what I mean?
So
like,
who
wins
Kentucky.
Gonzaga, Kentucky? Who wins?
I have Gonzaga.
I have Kentucky.
Wow. That's awesome. Where is that game? New Orleans?
No one's... gonna be a lot of Kentucky fans.
Kentucky's going to rep, yeah. So, Arizona, USC.
I have Arizona.
Pac-12 matchup. I feel like that would, like, warrant USC, honestly, a little bit. They'd be like, oh, let's go. Like, we've seen this team 10 times.
Yeah. Kentucky, Arizona in the title game.
I have Kansas beating Villanova in that game.
Oh, my God.
Then I have Kansas, Gonzaga. Really not original. I have Gonzaga winning the national championship and finally breaking through.
I have the Kentucky Wildcats.
Wow.
Beating Arizona. Revenge for the 1997 title game. Wildcat matchup.
See, like, I'm going to change this because, like, this is so dumb. Like, not on this podcast. I'm just saying, like, I hate staring at Gonzaga's face.
No, I like Gonzaga. I feel bad. I think it'd be the ultimate, like, comedy if there's 3 West Coast teams in the Final Four and then Kentucky wins the title.
That would be kind of funny.
Like,
in New Orleans, too. Like, everyone's just lit as fuck. USC has no fans there at all.
It was like just the song girls.
Yeah. Oh, my God. So, that's it. That is the 2022 NCAA Tournament Outlook. Only an hour 40, actually. Way less than last year. Way less.
It's because it's late at night.
Right. And we kind of skated over a lot of matchups, you know. But thank you guys for listening. Any parting words?
It's a tournament, man. I'm excited. This is March.
Like I said before, I wanted to mention, fans are back. And it's so sick when UAB goes on a 15-2 run and takes the lead, and it's just like the crowd's going crazy, and like none of them are UAB fans. It's like the Tennessee fans are like, holy shit.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's stuff like that happens, and it's so fun. And there's actually games in San Diego. I kind of want to go. I've been barely thinking about it, but tournament is back.
It's only like rent.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're officially all the way back. The NCAA tournament is all the way back this year, and thank you guys for listening to this podcast. Good luck filling out your bracket, and we'll catch you next year.
Da 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 da.